Welcome to the Movie Guide Podcast. I'm Greg,
I'm Jordan.
and we wanted to review Beasts of No Nation.
Yeah, we watched it separately. Normally we do these. As soon as we finish watching them together, we do this. But this one we watched separately. I watched it on Friday. I think you watched it today. We haven't talked about it at all, so I'm interested to hear your thoughts. So, what did you think about the movie overall?
I rate it really highly. It reminded me of all the sad parts of Blood Diamond.
I can see that. I think more so reminds me. I don't know if it's a movie you've seen. There's a Bruce Willis movie called Tears of the Sun.
Yeah,
It reminded me a lot of that.
It's been a while since I've seen it.
It reminded me a
but I
lot
did
of
see it.
that as well. Obviously, same setting and stuff like that. So that's part of it.
Yeah, so it's a Netflix movie.
Yeah, which is incredible.
It's a big deal because it's the first one. Now, I don't think they produced this on their own. They bought it.
They bought it. Yeah.
Yeah, and then are releasing it on their own. So it's kind of an acquisition. It's sort of like how they've called Arrested Development a Netflix original, because they bought it and did another season. However, this is important because you can tell us why,
Again,
can't you?
I don't know.
You were
that I
telling
did.
me about it. So Netflix releasing this on their own and not releasing it in theaters and being shunned by a lot of theaters
Yes.
is getting Netflix a lot of attention, and it's
Yes.
great for them because it means they've got this kick-ass movie that people are wanting to see at home and not in the theater.
Yes,
So they
I
bring
didn't know
all
where you
this
were going
stuff-
with that,
Sorry.
but yeah,
Well,
definitely.
we talked about it once before. I thought.
But yeah, I mean, I think there's 5 major movie theater chains in the country, and all of them said we're not showing it. There's a couple smaller theaters that
Right.
but really the only reason they released that is for awards
Right.
consideration.
They got to
later on.
be. It's got to. What is the criteria? It has to
They-
be
they
in
have
the
to be-
same in the theater the day they release it.
Yeah.
Is the minimum.
hmm
So we've got 2 main characters in here. We've got a kid named. Well, I don't know. What's his name?
Agu.
Agu. He's played by Abraham Attah. and
Fantastic.
then- Yeah.
Fantastic.
What do you
One-
okay, let's talk about his character first.
Well, just overall, the performance was one of the best child performances I've ever seen. I don't hesitate saying that. It's
Child
amazing.
actors are notoriously difficult to work with
And
because they're not experienced.
I mean, it's almost as good as probably what's his face in The Sixth Sense.
And as soon as you said that, I've blanked on his name.
Yeah, I've lost it, but that's not the point. Yeah, I wouldn't be surprised if he does a bunch more stuff because he's fantastic in this
Oh yeah,
movie.
and this everyone in this film is going to get
Oh,
a career boost.
Idris Elba, yeah, he was great in the movie too. Slightly different role.
He
than
plays
usual.
kind of like a Coney 2012
His-
type guy.
His accent is fantastic. It never.
Everyone in this movie,
I
I
kept-
felt myself afterwards like wanting to pronounce things the way they
I
were.
kept waiting for him to slip because he's British.
Is he? Okay.
Yeah, I kept waiting for him to slip up in his accent. He never does, and it's awesome. It was much better. We didn't talk about it in our last review when we reviewed The Walk, but Gordon Levitt's accent is a little distracting. I
Every
think.
once in a while, well, actually, more than once in a while, you catch that it's not native. He
Yeah.
does a pretty good job of
He-
speaking when he's speaking in French. I buy it because I'm
Yeah.
American and I don't speak French.
Yeah.
But when his French accent in speaking English was a little
Yeah,
rough shot.
but I didn't feel that way at all with Idris Elba in this movie. I thought it was great.
So what do you think of the plot? So the plot is obviously meant to send a message to people who aren't aware of all the sort of child soldier kind of things. That
It's
are
a
going
very
on in
dark,
Africa.
very dark movie. Just a brief overview
Yeah, go ahead.
is you have a family. It starts off with this family in Africa. It's 2 or 3 sons and a daughter, and the mom and dad, obviously. And it goes really in depth into kind of how they live for a good 15 minutes, and it's really
Yeah.
interesting to see. There's some great humor to it. It was really enjoyable to watch, and it's not a spoiler here because it's in the trailers. And it's how the movie gets started. Is his whole family gets killed. He runs away. He gets away from. It's actually the governmental forces that kill his family. So he runs away. He gets rescued by this other this group of child soldiers who fight for the rebels against the government forces. It's led by Idris Elba, who kind of saves his life, takes him under his wing, and that's kind of how the movie progresses. And I gotta say, I know that I should hate Idris Elba's character,
But you kind of like it.
but for a lot of the movie, towards the end, you do get moments where you're like, all right, he's a bad guy. But for a lot of the movie, you don't feel that way.
Well, because it sounds so. The start of the movie, it sounds like the government forces are what is screwing up this nation. And you have the typical problem. This is an unnamed African country.
Yeah.
You have the typical problem of, is the government the good guys or are the rebels the good guys? And it kind of see both sides. There are good elements and bad elements in both. Mostly, though, there's a lot of corruption and a lot of power-hungry individuals. And so when the government forces come into their town and kill everybody, this young boy is only left knowing these were the government forces and they killed my family. So later, when he runs into this battalion of rebels and the leader approaches him and tells him, the government killed your family. I'm here to help you.
Yeah,
get back at the government.
He says, "I saved your life. Do you want revenge?"
Yeah,
and that's
so
all
he's
he needed.
indoctrinated from the get go, and so you follow this. What you kind of see as a freedom fighter. I mean, a rough guy. They're certainly doing things that aren't very honorable. They're going through towns and killing anyone they think is bad, and leaving. It's arbitrary almost who they kill and who they don't. And half their military force are probably under the age of 18.
Oh, easily,
or even younger.
Yeah.
In the case of our main character,
Agu is probably what, 10?
10, 11,
Yeah,
at the
tops.
most. So when you find out later all these more complicated elements, it really makes your emotions come back up. I mean, you turn out that the leader is just as corrupt as everybody else, and at the end he's sort of losing grip on his power, and you can watch the film and find out why. But the reason I brought that up to begin with is that I knew the child soldier thing was bad, and we always kind of remember this occasionally when it comes up. You know, sitting nice, comfortable in our houses.
Yeah.
It
shows a different side to it.
It's more complex.
It makes it more complex, and you still know that it's bad, but it's like this guy is treating them all as a family, and he thinks, for better or for worse, he thinks what he's doing is right, which is an interesting twist to the whole child soldiering thing.
Does this make you care more than you did before, this film?
Does it make me care more? I wouldn't say so.
Were you aware of this?
Yeah,
the
I'm
problem
definitely
beforehand?
aware. I mean, I've taken classes and stuff on things like this, so I'm aware of the problem. But I don't think it added any more to that.
Do you think this makes a difference worldwide?
I wish I could say yes, but I don't know that it will.
Probably not.
Probably not.
Unfortunately.
But I don't know that that's a knock against the movie necessarily. I think that's
No,
a knock
I'm
more
just
against
talking
society.
about it's the issues the movie brings up. Yeah.
I did have issues with the movie though.
Yeah. So, go ahead.
Because I really enjoyed the first half, probably. First half of the movie, maybe 2/3, maybe. Fantastic. I would have given that part of the movie high 4s. I was really on board with it. I was really invested. I liked the way they introduced the characters. I liked the way there was humor in it, and you really got invested in what was going on. I didn't like the turns the movie took after about the halfway point. It tried to do a little too much, I think. I think the plot tried to twist itself.
Oh, because you're following it's Agu's experience.
Yeah.
So you watch most of it from his point of view.
But that's my problem.
Like he's introduced to drugs. He's introduced to...
The first half is almost all from his point of view. Then about halfway through, it seems to switch, and it's more from Idris Elba's point of view.
Well, because the two are intertwined.
But yes,
so I kind of was on board with that because the Idris Elba.
But it just got confusing to me at that point. I wasn't quite sure what was going on for the last half of the movie.
I see.
Maybe it's something I need to sit down and rewatch again when I have time. But the second half just didn't work nearly as much as the first half did for me.
Would you get it? What would you rate it?
I'd go overall. Like I said, the first half of the movie was high 4s, but I think overall as a movie, it probably falls to about a 3.5 for me.
Really?
Yeah, very low. I didn't enjoy the second half. I wasn't on board.
So as Netflix's debut film, you feel like they kind of fell flat?
As Netflix's debut film, I don't think that it fell flat at all. I think it was a great opening film for them. I just think as an overall movie, looking at it cinematically or whatever you want to call it, overall it's a 3.5 for me. What about you?
I would have given it a 4.
4?
Yeah, and mainly because the acting is just I never felt like so and so wouldn't have ever done that. Like,
I wouldn't be surprised if either
totally wrapped in it.
I wouldn't be surprised if either Abraham Mattel or Idris Elba received Oscar nominations for this movie. It wouldn't surprise me in the slightest. But yeah, it's a good overall movie. Definitely worth a watch. It's right on Netflix. You don't have to leave your house. Just turn it on. It's
I think that's
2 hours, 20 minutes, somewhere in there. It's a little long, but
I think that really makes this movie exceptional. Is that you can, for kind of the first. I mean, you've had on-demand versions of things before, but you always had to cable first. This is the first really widely
almost everybody has
accessible
Netflix
film.
now. So.
Yeah.
Yeah, worth a watch when you have time. Like I said, 2 hours, 20 minutes. Definitely for the performances, at least from my point of view, for the first half. You seem to like the second half a little bit more than I did, but yeah.
Generally speaking, I liked the whole movie. It was fun. There was never at any point where I felt bored. And I liked the occasionally, Agu narrates a little bit. You sort of hear maybe what he's thinking, or what you might imagine him writing in a journal if he had one.
that's how.
And they're gentle, and they don't feel like interruptions. They come in moments where you're like, almost yourself are wondering, gosh, what must he be thinking?
The complete opposite of The Walk, where it's thrown in your face.
Or it's very obvious, and they even cut away from the movie.
Yeah.
Well, all right.
All right. So yeah, thanks for listening, guys. Like I said in our other one, we just did The Walk. We just finished talking about that one, so you can check that out on our YouTube. And we're going to try and do this a little bit more often as soon as we see a movie, talk about it a little bit. A couple of those we might even do on camera at some point, possibly. So yeah, keep checking for stuff like that. Subscribe, like, all that fun stuff. Comment if you got anything to say yourself. Check out the website, jordansmovieguide.com. Anything you want to add? Twitter, at Jordan's Guide for me.
I'm at Greg Crafted, GregCrafted.
Thanks for listening. I'm Jordan.
I'm Greg.